how to write code in small chunks and test them. Right now, nothing is on the page. There is nothing to add on with it. So what I would do right now is to actually try loading up your game and then put in console.log statements. Start out with console.log inside your enemy.update function, console.log inside your player function, just because we are already calling them. So as you can see, enemy is going to render all of this, but then app.js is where it actually runs the code and loads the resources. And I'm thinking that you're saying there are no enemies or bugs inside your canvas that is being rendered. So what you can do is, if you don't know how to start writing the update function, just put in console.log. Or what you can do is you can just call your enemy.render function, create an object here, like how I showed you how to create var enemy equals new enemy of, and then you can put in the x and y values of the enemy to just render it on the screen. It does not have to move. It does not have to do any functionality. So try creating one class for one object of the enemy and try calling the render function on it. That should be very helpful. Console log is very useful. So use a lot of print statements around, since I know that inside engine.js, you will be calling enemy.update and enemy.render function here. You will obviously need these functions defined inside your app.js file.
I wanted to make a green bug, so I went into Photoshop and altered the hue. But I get this error. Failed to execute draw image on canvas rendering context 2D. The provided value is not of type HTML image element or HTML video element or HTML canvas element.
Okay, so as long as you save it in a PNG format and put it inside your images repository, it shouldn't have a problem. I have known a lot of students actually putting in different colors to the bug, like blue, yellow, green, and all that they have to do is Photoshop the images, save it inside your images repository, and then add it to your resources. So wherever I can show it to you, inside one of your JS files, I believe it is your engine.js file. Make sure that you are loading. So right here, you can see that you are loading all these images, and you have only enemy bug.png. You can name it yellow bug, blue bug, whatever color you set it in, but make sure you add it into the load function and make sure it is inside your images repository. As long as you're doing that, it should work.
I'm trying to code for P3 to detect collision, but when I make a range from the enemy.x by creating var enemy x min equal to enemy.x minus 50, I get an undefined because my enemy.x was only 34. Thus, I got a negative number. Please let me know how to avoid this.
Okay, well, good question, Kim. This part of the project is very tricky. Now, it surprises me a little bit that you get an undefined error because these are integers and subtracting them should just result, in the worst case, as a negative number, which might be off of your canvas. But what I do have is a great link. And so this page, as you can check it out, it tells you here exactly about access aligned bounding box and what you can do to test your collisions. I don't think you have to worry about circle collision, but just this top one here, access aligned bounding box, should be enough to get you started. The other thing to think about too is you can think about collision as in the reverse sense. So you can think about, you could write a function to say, when are you not colliding? And then say, when are you not colliding? That can actually be easier math, in fact, sometimes. So if that's at all helpful, give that a whirl. If you are having questions about your specific code and this website doesn't help, and the different way of thinking about it in terms of doing the opposite of not collide doesn't help. Please post your question to the discussions, and either us or one of the students can try to help look at your exact code to see what's going on there.
P3, is there anything we should set up for when game ends or user closes window to clear memory allocations? No. So this is the beauty of JavaScript. It has automatic garbage collection, and this is a concept in more low-level programming languages such as C, C++, or even Java, is that like the language itself, JavaScript, automatically clears the memory for you. Like if you have an object, and if that object is not being referenced by anything else, then the computer, the language itself, the JavaScript, is smart enough to know that, okay, there's nothing that's referencing this object anymore in my memory. I'm just going to automatically clear it. And you don't need to deal with garbage collection, unlike a low-level programming language like C, C++.
What goes in the index.html file? It appears you have the canvas drawn in the engine.js file. Is this a place to build a custom background? Thanks.
So the index.html file, you shouldn't have to add anything to it. If you wanted to, maybe let's say you wanted to have like a title, you could. But if if the custom background you're referring to, if you want a custom background for your game, kind of like a backdrop, then yeah, you could edit the CSS and put like a background image on your body tag. But if the background you're referring to is like the game level, then you would need to edit that in engine.js.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to touch the HTML or CSS files.
Not to pass.
Yeah,
I mean,
not
if you
to
want to do
pass.
something cool, then you'll have to play with them a little bit.
I'm trying to figure out the width and height of players and bugs. The images are 101 by 171 pixels, but that is not how tall and wide the bug and players are. Is there a way to figure this out? I'm working on collision and trying to define the rectangles. So actually, this is a really good question, and it was something that I initially had a little bit of trouble with. I put my player on the board, and he ended up kind of oddly sort of off the board a little bit, and I kind of played around with the measurements until he got fit on there. And then I realized my bugs were hitting my player at these weird angles, and I was like, all right, I just got to figure out how big these are. So do you have a tip for figuring out sort of the size of the players and the bugs?
I'll tell you the reason it's weird like that is because it kind of looks like a top-down game, but it's really not. If you look at the very bottom row, it's a square, but then it has that, you see the front of the square, right? So what happens is when those squares are drawn, the top layer is drawn, and then the top row is drawn, then the second row is drawn sort of on top of that bottom piece a little bit, and so they're oddly stacked. I would say that the player and the bugs should be sized as to the top of those images, and not what the full actual image is. Kind of ignore that bottom little piece there. What I did in my implementation was I actually kind of defined an object that said row 1 is this y coordinate, row 2 is this y coordinate, and then I used that object of, okay, my player is on row 1 and my bugs are on row 1, so now I can actually work on collision and stuff. It is weird. The math can get odd. For some reason 73 is in my head. I think that was my 73 pixels was my number.
I don't know what mine ended up being. I think mine ended up being 30 or 80 or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was one of those things that it really did just take trial and error to get it right.
But I guess that's kind of part of making a game, kind of shuffling things a little bit until they fit together.
Yeah, so what I eventually did was I created a step size variable for the player, and so I said anytime I press up, he's going to move vertically this much space, and then I would just constantly I would adjust that. I would set that to 60 pixels, and then I'd reload the game and press up, 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 and if it looked like he was staying in the center of the boxes all the way up, then I had the right number. he was going too far or not far enough, then I adjusted that number. And then I did the same thing with Y step or X steps, horizontal, and just tweaked it and played with it. It didn't take long once once I just, because I did the same thing as you, as I was trying, because I was just handed these images. And so, I did the same thing as you, and tried to define, think about it logically and define it, and it really did for me just become a practice of, all right, just define a number and tweak it and figure it out.